Hello and welcome to Upstart's AFL Finals preview. I'm Joshua Jeans. I'm joined here by Damien Ractliffe and Paul Bastin.
How you going?
How you going, boys? Now, big game to open up on Friday night. We've got Hawthorn vs Collingwood. It's probably the match of the round, really. Damo, where do you start with?
Well, first of all, Guerra's a massive out for the Hawks. I'm not sure if he's going to get back in time for the grand final if Hawthorn make it, and I think they probably will. Alice looks like the likely replacement. But they're going to need someone who can just run out of the back line like Guerra's done all year, Paul.
Yeah, well, they've got their halfback is their strength. I think you got Suckling back there, who's arguably the best kick in the comp.
Well, he can kick a goal from outside 60, and that's going to break open any defence.
Yeah.
Birchall, All-Australian, likely.
He's in the squad, yep.
Yeah, definitely. And then, of course, we have to talk about Collingwood's ruck situation. What are they going to do? They dropped Dawes for the last round of the season, brought in Jackson Payne. Can they bring in Dawes? He didn't play on the weekend, obviously, because Collingwood's VFL team didn't make finals.
I think that tells you a lot. I think the fact that Dawes got dropped this round tells you that he's not coming back for the finals. He's got nowhere to get form, and his form was not good enough before that. So really, there's nowhere to go really for Dawsey. They've said he's had a good week on the track. But is that really enough to get him a game? I don't think so.
Jackson Payne holds his spot in the team?
I think Payne keeps his spot. He was mobile. He took a few marks, and that's been Dawsey's biggest issue all year. He just has not been able to clunk any marks.
Surely that's Collingwood's biggest issue is the ruck, because as we saw, Nick Maxwell, he got towed up in the ruck. And
against David Hill, David Hill had 10 kilos on him, and he's going to have that problem all finals. There's going to be big bodies, and it's going to be very hard for Maxwell.
Absolutely. And when you've got a good ruck combination you're going up against,
well, Hale and Roughhead are more than capable. That's the issue.
And it seems to work for them playing the one ruckman, and then Roughhead's done a good job to hold his spot.
Yeah, I'd like to see Wood back in the team. Personally, I think Wood can hold himself in the ruck. All right, if he can win a few tap outs and the Collingwood boys can do the rest of the roving off the Hawks ruckman, I'd love to see Jolly go forward.
Have to respectfully disagree, mate. Respectfully disagree. I think Darren Jolly has to take 80% of the ruck, and Woody likes to do the same. So I just can't see the two of them working in the same team.
And who stops Buddy for the?
You have to give it to Ben Reid, All-Australian last year. Hasn't been in the best form this year, but I still think he's Collingwood's best defender. Nathan Brown, he'll probably go to Roughhead, I think. So that'll be the two.
And will Cloak perform against Schoenmakers?
I think a lot depends on how we negate Josh Gibson's role as a third over-the-top spoiler. He's one of the best spoilers in the comp. And if we can make sure that he's occupied, like James Posielli did for Geelong when they played, it allowed Hawkins to go one-on-one with Schoenmakers and he destroyed him. So I think a lot will depend on how Gibson goes.
Fair enough. So what's your tip, Damo, for Friday night?
I think the Hawks will win.
Look, I'm compromised. I'm a passionate Collingwood man, but I think Collingwood I'm going to go with my heart. But obviously the form line says that Hawthorn's going to be extremely hard to beat.
So and that'll be Hawthorn for me as well. Now, Adelaide's a big one at Amy Stadium. Do you think Sydney can get up? I'm not too sure about this one, to be honest. I
think Grundy's a huge loss, out for a week, and their defence is going to be under a bit of pressure. Ted Richards has been awesome this year, but with Taylor Walker and Tippett in the forward line, I think that's the duo that's going to win the game for Adelaide.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They've been feeding off each other really well this year, Grundy and Richards, and without Grundy, it's hard to see how they're going to contain both.
Probably arguably the best defensive duo in the competition for taking on tall forwards.
Geelong's pretty good with Taylor and Lonergan, but yeah, they're right up there. They've been superb this year.
They've been great, and if you look at the other ends of the ground, Talia won the Rising Star this week, and Sam Reid up forward. Talia's been great this year, and I reckon Sam Reid will have his work cut out against.
Pretty happy about Talia too. I hear Damo. Want to tell everyone why you're a bit happy about that?
I had $10 early in the year at 41, so I had a nice collect this week. But I'll back my boy Talia in every day of the week.
Now Adelaide have got a good record agaget Sydney, don't they, Paul?
8 from the last 9, I believe.
8 from the last 9. The last one was back in 2010.
Yep, and I think it was at Amy Stadium.
So that's a bit of hope for Sydney. I mean, they've got a pretty decent backline, Sydney. I mean, you got Alex Johnson. He's good. Reece Shaw gives them some absolute great run out there. Yep. I mean, I think but the key thing is Goods, Jetta, and hopefully if Sam Reid's back in, they need to perform. If those three don't play well, Sydney have probably no hope, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Sam Jacobs has also been the ruckman of the year.
I think he has to be All-Australian. I think he has to be. Him, Nui's obviously been superb as well, but Yeah, Sam Jacobs, I think he's number one for hit-outs to advantage, which, I mean, when you're defining a ruckman...
Which is what you want.
Yeah, you'd want hit-outs to advantage.
And he can go forward and kick a gut.
Yeah.
So that's...
Beautiful kick.
He's a ripper. Who are you going for this one, Damo?
I'm going to tip the Crows at home.
I had a gut feel that Sydney will win, but everything points to Adelaide. I'm going to have to go with Adelaide.
All right, we'll all go Adelaide for that one. Now, Geelong Fremantle at the MCG on Saturday night is going to be another good one. I think Fremantle have had some good form going into the finals, so they're probably the in-form team going into the finals, Damo. But I just can't see Geelong losing this game.
The problem is McFarlane's out, and that is a massive out. You know, we've been mentioning all Australians from these top 8 teams, and McFarlane, arguably all-Australian fullback. And to stop Tom Hawkins, who's been in the best form for the last half of the year, it's going to be a massive issue. I can't see Zach Dawson stopping the Tomahawk. And
Freo's form has largely been based on the Ross Lyon ethos, which everyone knows, you know, defence first. And it's really shown up. I think they've been number one for defence in the last 8 or 9 weeks. So without McFarlane, it's going to be awfully hard for them to continue that.
It's definitely going to be tough because Tom Hawkins has been phenomenal in this second half of the season. I mean, he had a great... And we know he can play on the big stage, really, because he came on in that game and you know, turned it all around when James Podger went out against Collingwood last year.
I think the whole 2011 final series was the defining moment for Tom Hawkins. I think that's when he really emerged as the player that we're seeing now. And he's just he's just an animal, really, isn't he? He's just an absolute beast of a man. And just, I'm not sure how they're going to stop him without McFarlane. He's the big body down there. I
mean, Stevie J's a big loss as well. Gets a bit of creativity. He's gone. But you've just seen with having the VFL sides, people can come in and take that spot. Enough young kids to get Geelong through this. And the experience is just, that's what you got to talk about there, isn't it? Geelong are just so experienced, and I think they've got it.
The man was Wojcinski in the VFL, I believe. He just dominated on the weekend against Port Melbourne. Stevie Johnson out, Wojcinski back in. Just the run. You have to give the guy a go. You know, it's his last season. You know, be a good fairy tale finish.
Travis Varco as well, isn't it? You could.
Yeah, Varco as well.
So we'll Varco as well.
Nathan Barty came back and he's offered him something else in the ruck.
He's phenomenal. So, who are you going for this one, Damo?
I think Geelong, their tools will be too hard with McFarlane out. I'd like to see Michael Johnson go back and give the defence a chop out, but it won't be enough. The Cats will win this.
Oh, I have to agree with Damo. Geelong comfortably.
Yeah, Geelong for me as well. Now, in my opinion, this is the biggest game of the round, as you would surely agree with me, Damo, that West Coast, North Melbourne at Subiaco.
I won't agree with you that it's the biggest game of the round, but for West Coast fans like yourself, they have to win this. You know, they just missed out on finishing top 4, and to play the Kangas at Subi, it's really, they can't lose this game, Paul.
Oh, it's a big advantage. We know that, you know, playing over in Perth, they're a 3 or 4 goal better side, and it's going to be very hard. But North Melbourne their running game is what they base it on, the handball, and with the space, they might, if they're on their day, they might be able to give West Coast a bit of trouble.
Well, the issue for me is Nick Naitanui and Dean Cox, arguably probably the best combination of ruckmen in the AFL for quite some time, you'd have to say. Todd Goldstein, can he match it? I don't think so, Jamie.
No, the Kangas lost to Freo last week in a shock loss. No one really expected that, and Sandilands just towed up Goldstein, and I think the Cox and Naitanui duo will do the same.
Oh, we saw against Collingwood with Jolly out, Naitanui and Cox just had a field day. Well, Naitanui in particular, he was, you know, high-flying marks. The hit-outs were dominant, and it correlated into the clearances. And when they win the clearances, West Coast, it's awfully hard to deal with them.
He's an extra midfielder, Josh.
He is. He's my favourite player, as you know. And I think he's the one. If West Coast are to go far in this competition for the final series, he has to be up and about because he just inspires people. He chases down. He sees things that no one else can do. And then,
he's really their barometer.
Oh, he's the barometer.
That is the word.
He's the barometer.
But let's talk about North. They can move the ball quite well, North Melbourne. I think, you know, if they play their best footy, as we saw against West Coast earlier in Tasmania, they really should have won that game. And they beat Collingwood and they smashed Essendon. So they could, if they play their best football, you'd have to give North Melbourne a shot.
Petrie up forward, Hanson, Tarrant. You're the West Coast man, Glass or McKenzie to Petrie?
Well, I think, as they've been going all year, you put Eric McKenzie on him.
Okay.
I disagree with that personally, but I think Glass is the best defender in our side, but he seems to always take...
I think he's the best defender in the comp right now.
He's quite good. And I mean, but they see it with Geelong. Scarlett usually takes the second best attacker. We've got a pretty good spread down there. I mean, and then you've got our half-back line, Beau Waters, Shannon Hearn, Sam Butler. All these guys can kick goals from outside 50 metres. So it just gives you that extra attack. And our forward line, Josh Kennedy, will he provide something? I'm not too sure.
I think it's asking a lot of Kennedy. He's only been back a couple of weeks, and it's not from a minor injury. It's a major injury that he's coming back from, especially for a big, tall man. The ankles tend to take a little bit longer. But he did clunk the ball pretty well against Hawthorn when given the opportunity.
He did. And Darling struggled a little bit last time against North Melbourne.
That was down at Tassie, wasn't it?
Yeah, he struggled a little bit, but he was the key forward in that competition. So we'll see how we go. But for me, I'm going to go West Coast, Damo.
Yeah, West Coast at home.
Yeah, West Coast.
And that's it for this week. And hopefully you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next week. Cheers.